Hello everyone, this video will cover Module 9. So Module 9 is the first module where we get to cover Norse myths, and this is probably my favorite part of the class. I love the Norse myths and they're so much fun, and of course we have plenty of Marvel movies to go along with them, and so a lot of students now know a lot about the myths. So I'm joined here today by Odin, Thor, Loki, and Hela, who is not, in fact, Thor's sister, but in the myth, she is Loki's daughter. So there's one thing that Marvel got wrong already. So we're going to take a look at what does Module 9 look like, and being a little bit better prepared for what's going to happen in this section of the class. So we are moving past the classical myth book entirely. However, you do not want to take it back to the bookstore because you will probably want it later especially for the final. So, but you can set it aside for now because we are looking at our Nordic Gods and Heroes book. If you have lost it between the beginning of class and now, now you need to go find it because this is what we'll be looking at for the second half of the class. So Nordic Gods and Heroes, which I think I probably already mentioned, it reads more like a storybook, and it's written a little bit more for like on a children's level. So some students really like this because it's a little bit easier to follow than the classical myth, and some students don't because there is not as much supportive material in here. So if you come across someone's name, there's no index in the back to go look, who is this? You're more, I mean, I would generally just kind of use Google to help you out if you forget who is who. Most of the names have various spellings to them, and so that can also be an issue if you have seen like Hel versus Hela. They're, the sort of universal differences within the name, so that might be a challenge as well. So for the readings and resources, we're going to start with part 1. There's 4 parts to the textbook. We're going to do part 1, then part 2, and then 3 and 4 kind of together before we do the exam. Part 1 is really just getting us into the gods. There is a chapter, this actually partway through the first part is gives us an overview of like the creation story for the Norse, so it's not at the beginning. The beginning of the book, the actual first chapter of part 1, is also the end of the book, which is essentially Ragnarok. And those of you who have studied Norse myth before know what I'm talking about. But basically, the idea is that the world is in a cycle, and we have had maybe many beginnings and endings. So that's why the beginning of the book is also the ending of the book, and we just keep cycling through the new gods and then the old gods and that kind of thing. And most of these stories in the book will be connected together. So typically it's something that this guy Loki does. And so he causes a lot of mischief, and then in fixing the mischief will often cause more problems. Eventually he'll turn dark and go into malevolent trickster. But for the first part, at least, he is fairly benign. I've got a couple of things for you. First of all, I would definitely watch this Pantheon video just because the names are going to be totally different, and if you're not familiar with Norse myth just in general, it can be hard to remember who is who, and so this would be really helpful. The other thing that I encourage you to watch, just because I love epic rap battles, is this Thor versus Zeus. It's pretty funny. It's a little bit irreverent though, so there's some swear words. If you don't want to be exposed to that, that's fine. But it is done in Lego, which is unfortunate because I think it would be better with people. It's, I didn't create it, obviously. So that is some of the introductory stuff for you. We also have, so this is the readings quiz. This is over the first part. And so that'll just get it kind of cover. You can take it multiple times if you want to. And then the first Norse myth assignment is to do a discussion board. This, if you have had zero teaching or study in Norse myth at all, and so this is completely new for you, this assignment will be just a little bit harder because you don't have as much of the background. A lot of students by this point have, they've seen the Marvel movies, or they've played the game, video games or whatever, and so they have at least a basic understanding. But there's plenty in that first part that you can use for this. So basically what you're going to do is choose an aspect of Norse mythology. It could be your favorite story, it could be a character, it could be a place. So if you want to do Valhalla or something, could be an object, that would be fine. So there's pretty much all of our objects, swords, spears, necklaces, they all have names. And so that could be something that you use instead. You can definitely do something that's outside of this first part. So if you want to do Fenrir, for example, most students have heard of him and are familiar with it. Or if you want to do Ragnarok, that would be fine. So that's not an issue. But for those of you who this is kind of really new for you, definitely just stick with what's in the first part. There's plenty in there. All these different characters could be different parts or topics for your discussion board post. So we've done something similar to this before with the Greek myths. And basically you just create your post with your whatever it is that you're doing. So I've got my example here. If I was doing Jormungand, the world snake, then you would have an explanation underneath about 10 sentences long, and then drop in at least 2 sources, either a picture or a video. Try to do at least 1 video and 1 image to help us understand it a little bit better. And then just a brief explanation of each one, roughly 5 sentences, what you learned from it and its relevance and that kind of thing. So that will take you a little while. Just like we've done before, if you want to create your reply and then post it, you can always go back and edit it. To make sure that you have sort of saved your topic so that nobody else can do that one. So that's just something that you might consider doing. I'm going to delete that. If you have a topic in mind that you really want to work on, but you don't necessarily have time to do the research right now. Once you're done with your post, then obviously you're going to go and look for your peers' posts and look to add to them. So again, we're adding things like video links, website links, and that kind of thing, pictures, images, and at least 2 of those. And then you're going to just explain what you provided. So we're just furthering the discussion with the end result hopefully being a good resource that you can look back if you are struggling with Norse myth. You can always go through all of these posts and look at what your peers have found about all of these creatures and places and names, and that might help you out a little bit with just a basic understanding of what's going on. So that is our discussion post or discussion board for this module, and that is the major part of the module that will take you some time after you have done the readings, of course. Wow, my screen disappeared. Keep in mind also, so we have done your research essay topic proposal. At this point, I have responded, I believe, to all of them. So make sure that you go back and look and see what my thoughts are on your topic proposal, because at this point you need to actually start doing some research. In the next module, you're going to present to me some of your research, and so you want to don't forget about that. You want to start working on that. The essay is not due for several more modules, but we'll have a few steps in between for you to be looking at after this point. So if you have any questions, if you're struggling at all, make sure that you send me an email. Odin might respond. He's pretty good at that. Otherwise, have a great week.